welcome to another episode of the Cynical Marketers. It is episode 62 and season 2 we're in, episode 10 already. That means we're in March, so we're in
yes, indeed,
the final month of the first quarter already, which is crazy. How fast already this year is going. It's crazy. I don't know how your year's going out there, guys. I say guys like anyone's listening. You probably.
They are, Mike.
I'm guessing you already dropped.
And you guys want to listen. Well, I think you want to listen to this episode because we've got some really cool stuff to talk about.
I think they should be listening to every episode because I am very witty and funny. And
you love to hear yourself.
So we're introducing something new that we have come up with today. This is we've never really hidden it, but maybe this is a surprise to people. The Cynical Marketers actually run a marketing agency.
We do.
Agency, really, which I know everybody is, Oh my God, you guys have an agency? That is rare, which we've never really talked about. But this is a tool that we developed recently to help people figure out not just that they have a marketing problem, but maybe what is it? And let's put a name on it, right? I was thinking about healthcare. And when people have chronic illnesses and doctors keep telling them, we know something's wrong, but we just don't know. Let's do more tests and more tests.
Don't know what it is.
And then even when a person finally, when there's a new doctor that comes in with a new way to look at something, he's like, oh, you guys haven't done the Johnson-Blivens test, And then they're like, hey, this is what's wrong with you. And there's a sense of relief, even though you're still sick. At least now there's a name for what I have, right? So that's what we were coming up with. And that's where we're at here. This is a diagnostic tool that we've developed to help businesses. And if you're a marketer too, if you're in marketing, maybe help determine what kind of issues, if you're having any, that you are. Because we've been doing this for a while and we have spotted patterns. And people think,
oh yeah,
I've heard this countless times, right? Oh, our problems are so unique. Our business is so unique. No one would get it. You don't understand how it is for us. It's so hard to sell. You're like, Bob, You're an accountant. We get it.
It's not that. I mean, it's true, though. I think we've both worked with a lot of different businesses across both of our careers. We have worked in businesses and for businesses across multiple industries, B2B service industries, direct to consumer, e-commerce, brick and mortar, in every type of industry, Mike. Like you worked in healthcare, service industries, like we've helped accountants, attorneys, every construction folks, like we have worked with everybody. And it's interesting because every time we sit down and talk to a new business, they all feel that their problem is unique. Right. And it's never them. It's nothing that they're doing because they're posting all the things on social and they're doing everything they think they're supposed to do. And we've identified so many times that there is a strategy gap between what somebody is doing and, what they tell us they're doing and what they're actually doing too. Right. So I think we kept just spotting these patterns consistently across, again, same pattern, different industries, different type of businesses, different size businesses, different length of time in business, but it was always the same pattern. And so we've identified some archetypes that, these clients fit into and that help us then service them. Yeah. Yes, please. 5 minutes, 20 seconds. They're still here, Mike. So kick it off. When you look at these eight patterns that we've identified, so these 8 things that we've identified, Mike, what is the one that stands out the most to you?
Is the first one here. This is the most common. This is the firefighter. This is the one that we see that is the most common one. And the firefighter is just constantly putting out fires everywhere. There's no real plan. There's no strategy. It's bouncing from one thing to the next. Everything is a crisis. It's an emergency. We need to have this done. It's got to get out today. It's got to go, go, go. The firefighter here, you're running around like crazy like this and everything is on fire. And I've seen this one a lot in small businesses, with the owner there, or it's a founder-led business still. You're a SaaS company and you started this and everything kind of has to run through this person, the firefighter. They tend to be the one to think too, if I'm not here, everything would break down and fall apart. And I have to be the one in control of everything because I'm the only one who gets my brand and I know it, right? So this is the most common one we see.
All the time. across every industry we've ever worked in, I feel like.
And, you know, it happens too, like folks who start businesses tend to be on the type A personality side, right? If you're bold enough to jump and make that leap to start a business, you're probably pretty sure of yourself, pretty sure of your own thoughts and ideas. And maybe you built a business up to a certain point. So you're like, you're validated then too. And you're like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Hey man, I got this thing to $5 million. I don't want to hear from anyone else. I know this business.
Yeah.
And maybe, but now you're getting too big and there's problems everywhere. And you're supposed to be the one leading the whole ship.
Yeah.
And you don't trust anyone to do anything, and you won't let anything go. And we see this one a lot. And it's leaders who just are tightly holding on. They gotta keep a grip on everything.
And the problem is here too is, you know, like you said, Mike, and like this image says, everything is done in emergency, right? Things that should not be an emergency. If you are reactive constantly. If you would just, if you just plan things out better, and if you just let go of some of that control and try, put the right people in place in your business, then life doesn't have to look like this image. And we worked for businesses. We know people who operate like this all the time, and it is an exhausting way to do things. That is one that we see, like you said, Mike, it is the most common, but it's absolutely exhausting. Like, do you want to be the firefighter every day? It's just not, you're always reactive and never really able to sit down and plan long-term. It's
exhausting. I know. And these are people then who are in this situation. And if you're not even the business owner, this happens in a marketing department too. Like if you're a solo marketer in a business, this happens to those folks a lot. Or the very small team where they're each expected to do like 8 different functions in marketing.
Yeah.
Because you work for a person who thinks that you're a marketer. So you can fix our website, do our SEO. Also, you need to run our social media. You need to run our Google ads. You're a marketer. Just do it all.
Emails.
You tend to be in the firefighter mode too, where it's just it's all a crisis. And then some leader, the CEO or the owner says, I need this out tomorrow. And then the head of sales, and God help you if you're a solo marketer working in a place that has a sales team, because then you're just, you're in your own special hell already, because no doubt sales outranks you for sure. So then they're tasking you and you're like, I got to get this done for the owner. But sales says, can you change this sentence on this deck for us? Because we don't know how to do PowerPoint at all. Can you fix this deck?
Sales guys love us. Listen, and I think another thing too with the firefighter is that we've noticed, right? People who are the firefighter never realize that is what they are. Like they just think that they're running their own business. This is why I feel like this sort of mapping to who you are in this marketing space for your business, or as a marketing professional for a client, it is important, because a lot of the times I feel like we've sat with people that in a first or second meeting, they seemingly have it together. They present themselves like they do have a strategy and they operate from that place. And then you start working with someone and you're a month in and you're like, oh, that isn't what this is. A lot of the firefighters, I feel like they don't know that is who they are. So I genuinely do feel like that's why this assessment is important. It's not to critique anyone on their techniques. It's just to recognize that pattern, because sometimes you're it and you don't realize that that's what's happening.
It's hard to recognize when you're in it and you think things aren't wrong,
really
and then you don't know. Yeah. And I see people make incorrect diagnosis about their problems all the time. Sales are going down. It must mean our ads aren't working that well.
Or we need to post more.
And you're like, well, I don't know that that's your actual problem, right? Like, let's take it back.
Right.
Your messaging is all over the place, right? Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter if you pump more money into ads, they're not going to work any better. The next one that we see, and there's similarities between the two, but the difference in the Headless Horseman is you just have no plan really. And you're bouncing from tactic to tactic. It's not really an emergency, but so it's not like a fire, but these folks, hey, I just saw this thing on Instagram yesterday. We got to get on this. Hey, I read this new book and they say do this, and you're just going to run around and try lots of things and you don't have any strategy. There's no plan in place. You don't know your customer, the messaging is unclear, and you just bounce around all over the place. So you are running around like a headless horseman, and there's no steering then, and we have no idea where we're going to go and if it's right. And you might get lucky, but you might head off in the complete wrong direction too.
And we see this all the time when people confuse strategy and tactics.
Yeah.
We see it all the time. So this is like Mike, like you said, you are bouncing from one tactic to another, confusing tactics with strategy, right? So it is you're following that, TikTok trend, right? You're going to try the TikTok trend. And then you're going to, like you said, like you read a book, well, let's try this sales technique. Let's try this. So it's not necessarily, you're not super reactive to all of it, but you don't actually have a plan. And because you're jumping from one tactic to another, the rest of your team is kind of trying to follow you, but they don't really know where they're going either. And so it's, I think this is a really interesting one, and we've seen this one a ton.
Yep. You don't give anything a time to work. You're not measuring anything. You don't have metrics to even know what does success look like, so you know if it succeeded or failed, and then you're just bouncing around because you're looking, and these types of businesses tend to be looking for home run and instant big wins.
Yes.
Like when they first started and they could grow sales pretty quickly early because you were new and there were customers to catch. We tell businesses that, early on are your easier conversions, but as you grow, it gets more of a challenge because those other people saw you and they didn't convert on your original message. So now what? Yeah. So then these people just get lost. I mean, and that's what happens. You're lost out there and running around like a headless horseman. This is a very common one, this next archetype. This one's really common in two types of businesses, and it doesn't matter, B2B, B2C, whatever. The first one is like you started it, you started this small business and you existed on referrals and word of mouth only. And it works. It worked for you, got a good solid business. Now you're like, well, sales have stagnated and we want to grow, but you've never done anything. These types of businesses really never do any marketing or anything because they never needed to. And they're usually early on are proud of that and will proudly say, we don't have to market our business. We get enough business because we're that good. People tell their friends about us. And that will plateau. And then if you want to actually grow, you're going to have to actually start marketing. And most of these businesses don't know how to then because they've never had to. Somebody else has done it for them. When you're word of mouth and referrals, somebody else is selling your business for you. And you are renting their trust because you've never had to go out there and establish trust with people who don't know you and have never heard of you. You've had a friend of theirs do it and they trust them. So you are renting their trust, I call that. You're renting that trust to get somebody to come talk to you because they're like, hey, my friend says you're pretty good at this, so we'll give you a shot. Because I trust him. I don't know you, but I trust him. So this happens in those businesses. The other business I've seen this in, businesses who have grown, they hired a salesperson or they have a small sales team and they have had outside sales and they've grown that way. But now they want to expand because there's only so many salespeople that you can hire to keep growing. And they're like, how do we attract people without like knocking on doors or having salespeople go out, BDRs, development reps going out there? What do we need to do? We have to start reaching new people. They don't know how to market either. They just have the sales team and they've relied on that. So that's less common. I have seen that. I've seen a $50 million business who had that problem, who wanted to get to 100 million. I'm like, well, you can't get to 100 the way you're doing it now. But more common is the first one. You're a ghost business if you have only existed on referrals and word of mouth. And we see this one in smaller businesses, service, you're an accountant, a repair shop.
Smaller service, local brick and mortars, I feel are impacted by this a lot. And this is where a lot of the times, like Mike, like you said, you as a business have relied, like a chiropractic office or a hair salon or, a lot of the smaller local businesses we worked with would be like, but I'm okay because I get referrals. And that's what they rely on. And it's almost like difficult for them sometimes to conceptualize that they only exist in this really small bubble, and maybe they're recognized in that bubble, but outside of that bubble, nobody knows who you are. and so those businesses then say, it's the ones that we always hear, like, what's so unique about your business? What's so great about your business? Oh, it's our service. It's our customer service. It's the service we give to people. That's wonderful. How do they know to get to you for that service? Right? So then it's a little bit of an uphill battle, because a lot of the times, again, people don't see that is a problem. They don't understand why they would, for example, have to go out on social media and educate people on who they are and what they do, because they operate in their own bubble where they're known. But they're known because they've relied on other people for referrals, like you said, Mike. Like, they're really operating on that borrowed trust, and you don't want to be this business. If you are this business, you don't want to be it, because the things that have brought you business could so easily turn.
Yeah, you have no control over your business then. Other people are selling it. So how are they selling it? What are they saying? What happens when one of those levers of your people, like, what happens if you make somebody mad? And we all do it.
Yeah.
We all have customers out there who don't like us, that we have let down. Every business, if you have customers, you have customers who don't like you, because we've all failed. We're human. So do they take people? Do they go out and now, hate on your business? Like, you can lose business quickly too, if that's your only thing. And then how would you replace it?
Right.
If you've been around for a long time, the degradation I've seen in this kind of business is, hey, I talked to my friends about you, but you know what? Like, my son, he just graduated and he got his degree, and he's doing this thing now. So I got to go with him, right? Yeah. So,
and the degradation happens in such small quantities, but over a long period of time. You don't feel it until you're really quite a bit down the road. So if you are this business, it's important that you identify that, so that you can preemptively put a strategy in place to not only rely on, referrals, on, like you said, Mike, on other people, like on borrowed trust. Like, you have to build that trust yourself. Yep. And so it's important that you recognize yourself as this business. If this is who you are, you have to kind of like be like, oh, okay, that's who we are. Got it. Like, now we need this type of strategy. I mean, that's the case for all these types, right?
It is. I always feel this business specifically, I think, is one of the more dangerous ones to be in, because you're not in control of anything, and it can be taken away from you at any time. And then what? And by the time you recognize there's a problem, it's already pretty late in the game. And now what are you going to start doing? Because you have proudly told everyone how you don't have to market. And now you're just going to start marketing. Like, what are you going to start doing?
Right.
This is a dangerous one. I mean, and referrals are great. And business owners get addicted to them because they're so cheap, right? Like, you're not having to market. So your acquisition costs are so low, and they convert at such a high rate. So they're so addictive. Yeah. We want to run a Google ad, and our cost per lead is so much higher, and they only close at this %. Why would I do that? I'll just keep staying with referrals. What happens if referrals stop?
And we've seen people, I mean, legitimately, I can identify at least one local business that has gone out of business because referrals turned into negativity online, negative reviews online, and then it spiraled, right? Like, we know at least one business we can point to that is local to us, right? That, like, nobody else would know that this has happened to. So I feel very strongly that if you take our assessment, and if you're in this category, that's when you need to start looking outside of your bubble. And it may be uncomfortable, but it's needed, because you cannot place a large amount of, like, you cannot have your entire business depend on, just a very small referral base or local base, or, you have to build that trust. And so I think that's where a good strategy would come in play here, that is just outside of, but outside of a lot of these ghost businesses' comfort zone.
It's hard. These are very hard people to get moving.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you here, they're one of my least favorite businesses to work with, because these owners, you're an owner of this type and you come up with this. I bet you're pretty hard-headed too, and you don't want to hear anything from anybody. You've probably told everyone how proud you are that we don't have to market. Marketing is for businesses who don't have a good product, right? And like she said in the image there, we have the best product on the market. And you're like, but nobody knows it.
But it doesn't mean anything if nobody knows it.
The corporate graveyard is full of businesses that had awesome products that no one ever heard of. You know, you still have to get out there, and you don't know when this can be taken away. So this is a dangerous one.
Yeah.
And the owners tend to be hard to move on this. And if you recognize yourself in this category, I don't know, it takes some self-assessment on that too. Like, why? What can we do? How do we get out there? If you say that you're the best customer service, again, you say that because you have other people's trust to lean on. So they go out and tell people, yeah these guys really are great at their customer service. So now if you're just going to go put that out, everyone's going to be like, yeah, okay, I've heard that. Everyone says that.
And I think one thing to note too, and I think we said it at the top of the podcast as well, like, so these are the 3 out of the 8, right? That the patterns that we've identified. And the different patterns, a lot of these, like Mike, the first one, the Firefighter and the Headless Horseman, for example, may have some overlapping things, right? They may look similar from the outside. So when you're if you're listening to us, and if you're still here, as Mike says, you're listening to us and you're like, but that sounds similar. Like those things look the same, the low leads, maybe the stagnation, like not getting the ROI you want. Take this assessment, because even while some of these problems may seem the same across the different types and patterns we've identified, they take actual different things to fix them, and it's why I think there's going to be some overlap between these categories and between these archetypes that, we've identified. But if you take this assessment and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I'm 100% the firefighter because maybe I'm not always as reactive to an emergency, and you get this as a response and you're like, but this doesn't maybe feel right for me. It is right. Like, take it. Like, it's hard sometimes, I feel like, to sort of face what the problem is, but these things take different fixes and different, ways to approach things. Especially like I think this is interesting for business owners and especially solopreneurs or small businesses. But if you're in marketing, this can also help you a ton. This can help you with like identifying the type of client you work with. Because a lot of the times as a fractional team, as strategists, when we sit with a business, and I said this to Mike, like before we started recording, it's almost like going on a date. The first version that you get of a business owner tends to be a little bit more polished, a little bit more, they will tell you what they think you want to hear, and vice versa, right? Like some agencies do that with clients, but you don't really know what you're getting yourself into fully. And so identifying kind of where you fit in these patterns is really important to make sure that you then course correct the right way. There's no you're not unique in these categories, but each category has its own sort of way of moving your business forward. And it's important that you know that so that you're not throwing more resources, like you said, Mike, like, let's do a bigger budget on ads that already don't work.
Let's do more Google ads. Let's do. We need a TikTok
You're not
dance.
wasting time and money.
We got to start dancing on TikTok. That's what my niece said we have to start doing. We have to dance on TikTok.
And it's just more like, instead of being like, hey, what should I try next? What dance on TikTok should I do? It's really just looking at like what patterns are emerging so that I know how to address them, so that you can get the right strategy and a fix behind them.
All right, there you go. There's 3, everybody. There's more. If you follow...
There's 5 more.
Big Brain Strategy, you can go find us on LinkedIn and social channels and stuff. Like we're putting out one every day here to kind of break them down. And you can go take the assessment then and get a report, and it'll break you down. It might show you your primary, but then how you rate in the other categories as well. So you might have a secondary that you're pretty close to, but I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
We're biased, though. Cool. It is pretty cool, though. Like, I think it's
free anyway, cool. So what the heck?
And it's also, it's just such an important starting point. It's really identifying your starting point, and you may not want to hear it, that this is, that this is your current state. Sometimes that's hard. That self-awareness is hard, but, feel free to like throw money at things and see if they work, if it helps you not want to face your issues.
And most of the time when a business tells you they have a marketing problem, usually what they'll tell you is one of their tactics isn't working, they feel like. And it's not really,
Right. There's no conversation.
there's nothing, no talk about what their strategy is, who they're trying to target, why, what their messaging is, where they're at in the market, and how are they getting that out. It's always some strat or tactic that's not working. Our Google ads stop performing, right? Our social media's engagement's down. It's like, well, okay, but that is a symptom. It is not the diagnosis of your illness. These are symptoms of the illness.
I mean, again, like people confuse tactics and strategy all the time. Check this out, you guys. I don't know if you're, as Mike says, if you're still here,
But, okay.
check it out.
And that last piece I just gave you, that was gold, and you're not here for it. So, all right.
Oh, someday, Mike, we're going to have 1 million listeners, and then people are going to go back to these old episodes and be these guys are so unserious. It's all right.
Cynical. There you go.
We're cynical.
They said the name. They said the name of the. They said the name of the podcast.
Possibly for the first time.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in if you're still here, and you're not. But thanks anyway to anyone who might be listening. Thank you to myself, because I go back through and listen to our own. So thank you, Mike, for tuning in all the way to the end of this thing again. And we'll see you all next week with another hard-hitting episode of